Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
On June 12th, 2015, at Coral Ridge Mall in Iowa, 20-year-old Andrea Farrington was shot in the back 3 times by 23-year-old mall security guard Alexander Kozak. Their texting relationship became a feud, which led to a murder. Are you ready? Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. So, been a nice couple of days here in Maine. Some wind a little bit and a little bit of snow get washed away by rain. Still, it's a very unusual winter for Maine, and I think that it's just, like I said, a sign of times of global warming here, which is something I think is getting to be noticed now more and more in other parts of our country. So it's getting to be, people are just going to start laughing at folks that don't want to believe that there is a global warming. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this particular case. It's it's been a while since it happened, but it's still relevant to people who knew Andrea, and the reason I picked this is not really to discuss the murder and everything, and all the stuff you would normally see in a crime documentary about the matter. What I wanted to really discuss about is this matter of people becoming obsessed with other people, which seems to happen a lot. Okay, I don't know if you're aware of how many cases like people shooting each other because if I can't have her or him, nobody can. It happens a lot. Believe it or not, it does. It happens a lot. And I don't know if... See, the thing I'm thinking of is that perhaps maybe that's a sign of the times in our society, that people, that maybe in some ways we spoil ourselves to the point where if we can have it and we get it, we expect to always have what we want all the time. And when somebody tells us no, we don't know how to deal with that, because it's like, nobody says no to me, you know what I'm saying? And I think that more of these kind of cases are happening because maybe our society is becoming more spoiled than it used to be. I'm not saying that these things never happened in the past, but it seems like the frequency of these kind of things are happening now, are more. And I just think that, there's something to be said about that. And maybe, we need to kind of remind ourselves of putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. And in this case, I would like to be able to, try to look at this in sort of an objective way. Okay, let's analyze this as outsiders, looking at these Alexander and Andrea Farrington, and what kind of went up with this thing? What might have provoked it and started it? Now I'm sure that there's the court had all kinds of reasons, and there are. If you look at the story and you look at the court information, the defense come up with all kinds of reasons why this happened, okay? And a lot of it is just bullshit. And why do I say that? Because, hey, they're defense attorneys, right? It's their job to create as much doubt as they possibly can to the jury, so they won't get in, to defend their client. But I think, what they said and what the reality is boils down to a lot more simpler events, okay? And it's that this guy, who was a mall security guard, saw this girl and was smitten by her. He was attracted to her, okay? Happens to all the guys, okay? Every guy will find somebody and bang, it just seems to click in their head, okay? And what separates us, from each other is what we do with that emotion after that. Okay, how we handle it. And it's too easy to simply just go with it, go on the instinct, go on the emotion of it, and try to get what you want just by simply, either showering that person with all kinds of compliments and all kinds of gifts and all kinds of attention, doing all these things. Well, whether the guys or the women are, in this situation understand this or not, the other person getting this attention might be flattered for a moment or two, but then all of a sudden they start to see warning signs like, the guys or the girls trying too hard, okay? I personally met a woman that was like that. I mean, how many times do you actually, in the old days, would answer a singles ad, and that very day, soon after you call her, shows up at your doorstep, and she's looking to have sex right off. Okay, big warning sign. Okay, that happened to me. Okay. Now, people instinctively know there's something wrong when a situation like that happens, okay? It's not normal. People like to take their time, like to, how do I say it? They want to enjoy the icing on the cake, as it were. Icing being the person that's flirting with you, and the cake being life, okay? People want to see whether or not they're gonna like this icing, okay? But the person that's all of a sudden becomes obsessed with that individual is worried that that person's going to say no and get rejected. That's the fear right off the bat that they get, that person's going to say no. And they don't want to hear that no. They want to make it so impossible for that person to say no that they do everything they possibly can, okay, to make that other individual say, oh, I gotta have this person. I gotta have this person because they look what they're doing. I mean, they obviously love me and all this, okay? That's unrealistically thinking, okay? But that's what the person that's obsessed is probably thinking, okay? And when we see that at first, and our gut tells us to, back off a little bit, listen to that. 9 times out of 10, your instinct is correct, okay? And you don't want that person, you don't want to give that person any sign that you're interested in them, okay? You just say thank you, and, make it look like, you're just not that excited about meeting them, okay? That in itself might make them slow down a little bit, and, might reconsider continuing, okay? Don't just flat out say, get the hell out of my face, I don't like you, that's the wrong approach, because if that person's unbalanced in their thinking, they're gonna snap, okay, and God knows what they're gonna do next, okay? So don't do it like that. Just be polite and thank them and everything, and then say I'm really busy, or so come up with excuses or something, okay? But don't let that individual try to talk you into giving them numbers or addresses or anything like that, okay? Now, in this case here, with this individual, I would say that Andrea was probably she really liked the attention, I think, and I guess there's nothing wrong with liking the attention. Some of us probably don't get enough attention like that in our lives, and it's sort of, it's like being in Disney World for the first time, when somebody comes up to you and and showers you with all these things, okay? And your whole day is going to be about remembering that moment, okay? Your whole day, because it was such a big thing. Even, even making tons of money wouldn't even equal that, okay? It's such a morale boosting event. You think good things. You think, there's something happening. It's not. I never thought would happen. Well, in her case, she had a relationship already at the time, and I guess they were going through a little bit of rocky times, I guess, at the time, and so this was sort of a mood booster for her, I guess, when this happened, and she accepted the guy's gifts and his texts initially, okay, which made her feel good. And then it started to get a little bit too pushy. He was obviously stalking her, finding out where she lived, where she drove for a car. I mean, it's easy to find that today. Anybody can do that now. I mean, hell, even technology today makes it easy for a stalker to make it simple to find you. You just get these friggin' portable trackers that get stick into your wheel wells and stuff like that, It's easy, Unfortunately, that's, people can use technology for good or for evil. And unfortunately, there's a lot of evildoers out there, as George Bush would say, But that's the way it is. And so, if you let somebody like that who initially came to you and was like, oh, and everything excited, and you don't say no then or try to back it off then, and you let this go on for days and weeks and months and stuff like that, to the point where now it's starting to get to be too much, a pest, okay, then it might be too late then to try to reason with the person, because in his or her mind, they've built up this thing between you and them into boyfriend, girlfriend, okay, because that's what they wanted in the first place. And they think that, well, they're not stopping me, they're not telling me no, they're not doing all this, so they must want me, okay? And when they think that, that opens the door to, yes, they do want me, and now they're mine. Now they're mine, okay? And see, and right there, before I go any further, I want to say this, okay? Just because somebody is dating somebody, okay, that doesn't mean that you have permission to try and take that person's relationship apart, okay? And think that, oh, they don't like that person anymore because, they're letting me talk. No, that's not it at all. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're beholden to the boyfriend or girlfriend that they're with, because they're not engaged, okay? What they're doing is they're saying, we want to see if this is good enough to be a romantic relationship and see if we can connect on that level. We want to try for that, and I need to put, everybody else on hold until I can find out if this is going to be something I can build on, okay? That's what it means, okay? Other than that, other outside interference, getting involved in that would be wrong, okay? I don't know how much she might have explained that to this fellow, okay? But I'm sure she must have said something at some point to him about that, okay? And I'm sure that pissed him off to no end, because now he's going to feel like, well, she's saying that because she doesn't want nothing to do with me. She's lying, okay? Well, if he'd been following her all this time, then he must have known something, right? Okay? And I guess it was in a text that he found out that she had a relationship going on. And so I just feel like when people like this fella here, Kozak, get really obsessed, all right, it's almost like they deliberately put blinders on. They don't want to see the truth about the other person, because that would open the door to the possibility of things being no. Okay? They don't want to hear that. It's like I said at the beginning. They don't want to hear no. They want what they want. They don't want to hear no. Okay? And so when they start this obsessive thing going on, and believe me, they know, these people know that they're living in a dream world, okay? Because every night they go to, before they close the light to go to bed, they worry at that person. The next day it's going to be the end, okay? They always worry about that because they know, inside, instinctively, they know that what they're doing is wrong. But they think that if they keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, eventually that other person's going to yield and give in, okay? In the meantime, they try to live in that fantasy world where everything is going their way, but they don't believe it. They can't believe it. I mean, because look, people might be obsessed, even brain damaged to a point, but there's always a part of them that's going to know right and wrong. If they didn't know that, then why would they flee after committing a crime like this fella did after he shot that girl in the back 3 times? He ran. He knew he did wrong. He fucking knew he did wrong. Okay, so that only shows that from the very beginning, his pushiness, his obsessiveness with her was wrong. And he knew where it was going to go, but he just didn't want to hear. No, he didn't want to hear it because that would shatter the fantasy from the beginning. He'd always remember that about it, and it would eat at him like a cancer. Okay? So, this happening the way it did, and it getting worse for her, and her getting more and angrier, and having it drive a wedge between her and her relationship, and even, you know, making it difficult for her friends to interact with her, because the friends who are looking at this from the outside objectively see the problem, but they can't seem to get her to do the right things immediately to correct this problem, like go to the police or something like that. Because even though this guy's a mall security guard, he's just a friggin' mall cop, okay? They ain't got shit. Okay, these people, you know, they do their job, but they ain't got no real authority outside the walls of the mall, and they do pretty much what they want, okay? So the police would intervene in that situation, and they would go directly to the mall supervisors, who would then come down on the mall cops and, you know, either discipline them or fire them or whatever the hell, okay? They would take care of the matter. But they didn't really go that way, or she didn't go that way. She tried to deal with it on her own, but I guess, you know, because maybe the embarrassment of having this happening to her was too much, you know, and maybe she didn't want everybody to know all the details about what he was writing her in text, which, you know, I don't get why people even bother. I mean, putting this aside, why do people bother texting each other for the first time? You know, when I'm talking to you here on this video, you can tell if I'm saying something that's, you know, sarcastic, you know, or something like that, by the tone of my voice and how I say something. You know, if I texted all this stuff out to you, you wouldn't be able to see that or hear that, would you? And you would think that everything I'm saying is serious, but you wouldn't know that. See, texting takes that away, the interpretation of the words, okay, and how it's spoken. That's why they created emojis, okay, the faces here with the smiley face. They made those to kind of give people an extra way of conveying their message, okay, whether they're being funny or, you know, or stupid or angry or whatever, you know, whatever emoji you're putting there, okay. That doesn't even really always work either, because not many people bother with putting faces there unless they're kids. You know, kids like to use things like that, but the adults don't. Okay, so by sending each other, you know, messages trying to convey an emotion or something like that, it doesn't really work. And this guy was putting a lot of faith in what he was saying to her as being genuine, being romantic or something like that. And because she wasn't interested in him, she was getting these messages and probably in some way maybe interpreting them in a negative way, because she just didn't have positive feelings about the guy in the first place, okay? Because she was getting inundated with all this you know, come here, you know what I'm saying? Constant friggin', you know, messages. And she's getting tired of reading them. And when she's not responding, his messages start to get angrier. And then it just kind of plays into her thing that, yeah, this guy is really out of his mind. And so she's even pushing back more. Well, the more she pushes back, the angrier he's getting, and the more he doubles down on his effort to keep going after her. Okay? That's the trap. That's the trap that a person will get themselves in, and that's when you have to go get the police. Because if your protestations and your rejection of the individual is not getting into their mind, if they're not accepting it, then you have to protect yourself at that point, okay? Because that individual is obviously doesn't want to hear what you're saying, okay? He knows what you're saying. He read it. He understands it. He just doesn't want to believe it. Or she doesn't want to. Okay, I'm not going to just, single out guys here. This happens with both sexes, okay? But they're not believing it. They don't want to believe it, okay? Trust me, they got the message. I mean, if they didn't, why would they get all the angrier, right? If they didn't understand what you were saying, right? Okay? You got to think about that. What you say in reaction, what you're saying, and if they react, they obviously got the message. They just don't want to believe it, okay? And so you have to take that as a warning sign that this is going to have to involve authorities now, because apparently I can't stop them, and now they're going to have to be threatened, perhaps, if they don't leave you alone. Okay, and then sometimes even that doesn't stop it, because if the person's really unhinged and they're still after you, then you got to think about ways to keep yourself protected, by creating some kind of a social, or not a social, but stay with your family or something where you're protected, where places you figure they'll never dare try to come after you, okay? And let the local police understand that you are being harassed, okay? So that maybe if they have the incentive to give a shit, they'll bother to go around, and keep an eye on you, okay? Now, some places ain't that nice about it, because I got 10,000 other people. Okay, they come up with reasons. But it's good to try to find people who can do something to help. But not to go after the guy, because then they would get in trouble, right, for harassing that guy. Because believe me, they'll go to the police like that, okay, if they feel like they're getting in trouble, okay, and they'll turn the whole thing right around on you. So you're better off just to let them be the defense against this guy who's offending. If she gets a restraining order and he shows up, okay, then obviously he crossed the line, okay, and you got every right to defend yourself with, yourself or people around you that's there, okay. They can do all this, and that boosts your strength to the police to get them to help you or to keep an eye on you when you do it like that. It's a much better way to do it. But I think, with in this situation, I just feel like Andrea waited too long. I mean, I think that's what it was. She waited too long, and she tried to handle it all on her own. Tried to take on the whole thing to maybe that she can stop it. Because a lot of people, adults, especially at her age, she was what, 20 or, something like that, and he was, when people get out on their own at that age, they want to feel like they can take care of themselves, okay? We don't need mom or dad anymore, I can handle this. I'm strong, I can handle this, okay? And I could tell you at 52 years old, that's still a struggle to even admit that there are some things in this world you cannot handle, okay? There are certain pressures in life that you need help with. And there's no shame in asking for help, okay? Only an idiot would blunder blindly onward, okay, without asking for help in life, because they'd fall into so many fucking traps. It's unbelievable, how many ways we can get ourselves in trouble, And, I think as parents, we got to teach our kids that. Don't be ashamed to ask a question. Don't be ashamed to ask for help, if things are getting too much for you, okay? Everybody needs to have a helping hand sometimes, okay? And, if somebody's bothering you or picking on you or, or just doing something that you don't like, okay, and you figure you don't know how to stop them from doing it, then go ask somebody. Ask somebody older, ask somebody in authority, ask somebody, look, this is what's going on. What can I do? And through that, you'll learn something. So the next time it happens, you can deal with it. on your own better. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That's how we learn. And it doesn't matter how old you are, you're always learning something. Okay, you're always learning something, because I haven't met every bad scenario that people have gone through in life, and none of you out there have yet either. So there's things you know how to deal with that I don't, and there's things I know how to deal with that you don't. Okay, but we're never going to be able to come together and learn these things if we don't ask questions. And I think, you know, I'm not trying to come down on Andrea here at all. I'm just trying to say we're trying to learn from this incident, which I think we all should try. I mean, I would think Andrea would want us to try to find something out of this that we can say, well, we learned something from here. She didn't die for nothing. Okay, something happened to her. We all learned from it. Now we could probably deal with this better than she did, and and maybe do something to change all that. And well, let's go to a commercial break here. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
For 4 long years, Donald Trump disgraced America, laughing with mass-murdering dictators, Vladimir Putin's puppet.
You know, the people of Crimea, from what I've heard, would rather be with Russia than where they were.
The world laughed at us.
You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart.
No more.
The people of this nation have spoken. At this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
Today, America once again leads the free world. A respected leader, steady, determined, who knows America is great because America is good.
We stand with Israel today, tomorrow, as we always have.
Under President Biden, our friends are stronger, our enemies weaker.
This is not about party or politics. This is about the security of the United States of America.
A strong economy at home, a respected America abroad. President Joe Biden, an American president.
Seen one white supremacist. There's a boogeyman of white supremacy, which I don't think anyone can see.
A white nationalist is racist, Senator.
Well, that's your opinion.
If Democrats want to say that white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too.
Stop calling Tommy Tuberville a racist simply because he talked about having white skin and being a nationalist.
My amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve.
Diversity absolutely means anti-white.
Chick-fil-A, I mean, you know, I'm hesitant to make a fried chicken joke, but they sell fried chicken. I don't know how much more inclusive we can get here.
The State Board of Education just approved new rules for how to teach Black history in public schools.
How slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
This is well documented among historians. This is historical fact that slaves did develop skills while they were enslaved.
They're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life.
Right? I mean, you compare black guys to black guys, women to other women. You can't compare Soros to another Jewish guy.
The Soros-backed prosecutors, Soros DA.
Soros prosecutor.
His master, George Soros.
Mr. Soros.
George Soros.
Soros-funded DAs.
You sit down and think about all the anti-Semitism, so-called, not real, so-called.
You had to survive in a concentration camp by having skills. You had to be useful.
The people who are opposed to me are Ashkenazi Jews,
and Chinese.
This guy has a right to say whatever he wants to say, and it's not anymore, if you don't agree with me, you can't say it. That is not America.
Oh, of course the Jews run Hollywood.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. So, as I was saying at the end here of the last segment, Andrea would want us to learn something about what happened to her. Okay, if I was killed in that way or something, I would want that. I would say, look, I can't say anything to these people now because I'm dead. But maybe people will see this case, see the details of what happened there, and they will learn from it, and they will know how to protect themselves from another Kozak down the road, okay? Because, hey, like I said at the beginning, this kind of thing happens all the time in America. It's not always reported, but there's always some kind of, what do you call it, employer-employee kind of friction going on, or in this case, a mall guard and an employee at a child's recreation center. Things happen because we're in close quarters with each other. It's hard to get away from somebody that works around you. You know, like if you're working at a restaurant with somebody and that somebody who's also works there is getting on your nerves, well, you can't say, I don't want to see you again, right? The next day you're back at work, he's there, she's there, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it's a very difficult, stressful thing when you can't get along with coworkers, which is why a lot of times when you go into these places, people treat each other, it seems overly nice, is because they're trying very hard not to make the environment any less pleasant than it already is. You're working with customers, okay? They want to make it seem like that there is some positivity at this job that they're at, you know, that, hey, I like this person, we're friends and everything, and, you know, and everything is good, okay? They don't want to end up hating somebody and then regretting that they're in this job. That's why these people try to act like a team, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a good thing if you can get these people to act like a team. When I was in the military, that was a very hard thing for us to do, even though we're supposed to be trained to act as a team, to work together. It doesn't always work that way because they get people from all walks of life. Some people are individualists. They'd rather work alone, you know, because they work better by themselves than they do with other people, okay? So you run into people like that. So it was very difficult to try to get people in that environment to come together in the same fashion that, like you say, you go to a restaurant and the employees seem to be getting along pretty well there, okay? Doesn't happen that good in the military. But it is difficult, and it does happen in this country that these things do happen on the job. You know, friction leading to feuds, leading to violence, you know, even murder and stuff like that. And I would think that maybe we ought to take more of an effort to try and lessen the frequency of it. Because today it seems like our whole society seems to be so filled with anger and, you know, because of, you know, politics, or because of this or because of that. You know, everybody's at each other's throats all the time, it seems, these days. And it's like, how can anybody work together to do a damn thing now when everybody's walking around thinking there's a mall shooting going to happen, or a school shooting going to happen, or is my kid going to come home, or come home in a box? I mean, you know what I'm saying? People are on their fucking nerves more than they ever were. I mean, you think the Cold War was bad in this country? No. Believe me, I lived through the Cold War era, and the tension in this country wasn't nearly as high as it is today. Nearly, not nearly, okay? People lived through the Cold War era, I think, thinking that it would never happen, okay? Because people can't be that stupid. Nobody would believe that. But now that we see these shootings happening all over the country and stuff, now we know that that is more of a possibility to happen than seeing nukes hit our cities, okay? So people are more scared than ever of putting their children in places that are now dangerous that used to be considered safe, okay? And people are afraid to go to work because somebody might show up, which happened right here in Maine here not more than a month or two ago. Somebody should show up at your job and start shooting somebody because of some relationship or something that happened, and you know, and they're taking it out on everybody. You know, you just don't know anymore. You can't. There's no way. There's nowhere you can say is safe now. We've had shootings in just about every community thing that you can imagine. Restaurants, churches, malls, gas stations, you name it. There's been a shooting in such a place, okay? And so now we don't feel safe anywhere, okay? So everybody's walking around on their nerves. They're eating on their nerves. They're sleeping on their nerves, which is why there's so much medication going out to the public, you know, for people with depression and all. Hey, you can't blame society for getting like this, okay, for taking all these meds. I mean, if they weren't on the meds, who knows how bad it would be, okay? We got to try something. But what I'm saying is maybe we need to educate ourselves a little bit more on how we can start interacting with each other better, okay, by being, not to allow ourselves to jump on our emotions or to get carried away with our emotions because of something that we see as like it's as great and all that, okay? But to walk carefully, to use your thinking cap, as my teachers used to say way back. Use your thinking cap. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. And, you know, try to be diplomatic. And yes, it's not going to stop all these things from happening, but it might just put a dent in it, okay? It might just put a dent in it, and it might save people's lives. There are people out there who are unable to deal with rejection, okay? Probably because of their upbringing, probably because, you know, they have a mental problem that hasn't been diagnosed, okay? I'm not sure what, I mean, like schizophrenia or something like. A lot of people can't afford to get diagnosed by a doctor, okay? And a lot of people don't know what the symptoms of having such a thing would be unless they read about it and, you know, and say, you know, geez, I got this, I got that. You know, only a therapist can really spot it because they're trained to spot that, okay? So, but like I said, they can't always afford to get that care. And so you have to treat everybody on the same even-tempered way, because you don't know what their baseline is as a normal day goes. But if they come to you and they seem a little too complimentary and a little too excited, or you know what I'm saying, don't immediately jump to the conclusion that they're nuts, okay? Just say that, you know, I don't feel comfortable with that, you know, and you maybe back off a little bit. But don't be, you know, confrontational about it to where they feel like you hate them and you don't want to see them again. You know, just do it in a kind way, which most people do, okay? I give you that. And I think Andrea did too here, is she at first, I think she tried to be more diplomatic about it, but he just wouldn't back off, okay? And instead of fighting that battle where the more you push, the harder they come back, instead of continuing that trend and you're seeing that it's not resolving anything, that's when you have to say, okay, I need help with this. I got to go call the cops or somebody give me information what I can do. You know, whether a restraining order is in order or having the guy get visited by the police, or, you know, and having a talking to, something, okay, anything, just to let people know that, look, you know, I'm in some bad stuff here and I need some protection or whatever. I don't know what this guy's going to do. I don't know if he's going to listen or whatever, but I need help, okay? So we have to be careful about, you know, how we deal with each other at first. When we're strangers, we don't know, okay? I mean, I think that goes without saying. You're going to have to do that because you don't know the person. But if both sides understand that when you start or you try to start a relationship, it takes time to know the other person, and that nobody should rush it on either side, okay? There's no reason why things aren't going to go your way if you do it in a responsible, respectable manner, okay? And it's okay if it doesn't work, okay? It's okay if you try to date for a while and it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's the end of the fucking world, okay? It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. All it means is that this particular person and I, the closer we got, the more differences we found. And it was not conducive to our relationship, so we figured maybe it's just better to be friends and leave it at that, okay? But it doesn't mean that you can't have any emotion or any relationship at all because this one person said no, okay? You try again with somebody else. You know, you see somebody else, and believe me, guys will find somebody else like that. Their eyes are roaming all the fucking time, okay? So, you know, you have to do it. And there's going to be a lot more no's than there are yeses, unfortunately, because in this world, other people are living their lives, and they're not just going to sit around and wait for you to spot them and say, oh, that's the one, you know, okay? Everybody's doing the same game, okay? We're all looking for that someone, and sometimes we might be too late getting, you know, but, you know, it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. And if you're not emotionally suited to be able to handle rejection or anything like that, it might not be a good idea for you to pin your hopes on being happy because you have somebody. Because that same individual that's so obsessed with you is probably not going to be that easy to live with because, like I said, they want everything their way quickly and they want it to be agreeable with them, which means if they're living with you, they're going to expect things to be like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Okay, for them, their relationship has to be how they imagine it. Nobody can live under those expectations. You know, there's no way in hell anybody could do. I mean, how are you supposed to know that this is what the guy wanted or this is what the girl wanted for a relationship? You know, she never said that at the beginning. Okay, and the fact that he or she is always on your butt, saying you're not doing this or you know, then all of a sudden every discussion becomes an argument, and every argument drains your life away to the point where you're just so upset that you can't even see straight. You know, you can't get along with anybody, your friends, your parents, your family. You just can't because you're so miserable because you're not you feel like you're not doing anything good enough. You know, and you're beating yourself up. Well, that's because that other bastard, okay, has been making you feel like that because nothing you do is ever right, even though you're doing great. Okay, another guy would say, "Christ, you're the best girlfriend or wife I ever had." Not this guy. Okay, that ain't gonna matter to him. No. He had it from the very minute he spotted you. From that moment on, he had that all patterned out on how this was going to be a perfect thing, okay? And life is rarely ever perfect, if ever, okay? It rarely is. Both sides have to understand that. No matter what relationship you get into, there's going to be friction at some point because you have two minds working together, and no two people on this earth are identical or alike in any fashion. There's always going to be differences. Always. And this guy, like I said, knew that. He knew this, okay? He ain't no dummy, okay? I mean, if he was that way, you know, he never would have got us, you know, to be a mall cop or whatever like that and graduated high school or whatever the hell he did. He's got a brain, so he understands right and wrong to a degree. It's just his ability to deny is what gives him the power to do what he did, okay? By blinding himself to the realities of the world around him. Not taking responsibility. You know, I'm sure that he's in prison right now telling everybody I'm innocent. The lawyer railroaded me or some fucking thing like that, okay? I mean, he was doing that through the whole trial. His lawyers were trying to say, oh, it was this, it was that caused him to do this. Oh, she was flirting with him too much. Every friggin' excuse in the book to try to smoke the jury, okay? And I'm sure, you know, he sat there and soaked that right in so that way he could spew that back verbatim to anybody that ever asked him, you know, why you here. Okay? That's how delusional he is to himself. He knows why he's there. Okay? He knows, damn well he knows. All right? But he won't believe it. He won't accept the fact that he was that cruel, that vicious, that he was capable of doing murder and stuff like that. He don't want to even acknowledge it. Okay, it's all her fault. She did this to me. She made me this way. Okay, don't accept any responsibility at all for what he did. Okay, and you're going to find that that's generally the attitude for a lot of people who flip out and commit a crime like this. You know. I would go as far as saying the reason he shot her 3 times in the back is because he couldn't look her in the face as he killed her. He couldn't do it. And in my mind, that would suggest that maybe he had a conscience in some way, but he tried to blot it out. He let his anger simply cover the guilt or the shame that he had, you know, and seeing that he ran to try to get out of that mall because there were so many people that saw him do it. He was scared. He knew he did. He knew he crossed the line. He knew he did. And if he didn't think what he did was wrong, and if it was all her fault, why was he running? You know, why didn't he just stand there and wait for the police to show up, and so that way he could tell them what happened? You know, a person who really thinks they're innocent isn't going to run from the police because they know they're innocent, right? But a person that runs from the cops knows they're doing bad, okay, knows they're in trouble, and, you know, they just they're not gonna cooperate. They're not gonna cooperate, you know, and it looks more guilty than anything when a person's running from the police, you know. I mean, I think that, you know, when a person goes into court and on a case like this, and they plead not guilty, okay, and the evidence seems so overwhelming. What they're really saying is, I dare the jury to find me guilty. Let's see if they can figure this out. You know, because my attorneys are going to cloud this whole thing. Let's see if they can do it. I'm going to roll the dice and take the chances. That's what a not guilty really is. I mean, I think it is anyway. If a person really is not guilty, okay? But if a person is guilty and they're saying not guilty, then they're basically saying, I'm going to roll the dice and take the chances and hope the jury's too stupid to figure it out. Okay, that's what they're hoping for. But if a person really believes that what they did was wrong and has a shred of conscience, they would plead guilty and take whatever punishment that comes their way from that, okay? And not make some fucking deal to get less of a sentence, that they just plead guilty and put me in jail so I could pay my dues to society or whatever, okay? That would be the reaction. And there have been some people in some of these murder cases that did just that because they knew that they couldn't win the case, not because they had a sudden burst of consciousness. It's because they knew that the case was so overwhelming against them that they couldn't win. So why try and fight it? Let's see if I can't get, some sympathy because I came and said guilty, But like I said, this guy knew what he did was wrong. So his defense and his lawyers trying to muddy up the water so the jury would just fall into the bear trap was really lame. Okay. And the fact that this guy sat there in court and seemed to act like it was nothing, okay? Because if you look, there's actually a police interrogation of this guy, and the guy's talking about the whole matter in the mall like he's, discussing, instructions on how to build a table, in such a matter-of-fact kind of way, like it didn't even bother him. No tears, no remorse. For a guy who was so obsessed with her, he was able to really shut his feelings off because he's in such denial about it that he can't even feel anything about it, okay? He doesn't want to feel what he should feel about it because he knows he did wrong. He knows the guilt would be overwhelming. So it's better to detach yourself from that guilt, from that emotion, okay? It's better to detach yourself from that and not feel it than it is to actually be there in the real world and feeling what you're supposed to feel as a human being for doing wrong. Okay, that's what separates. Will you stop it? That's what separates certain people from each other as far as committing crimes go, is because some people can detach from the emotion, others can't. Others, they have too much moral background to be able to to shut that off. Okay, they can't do it. They're going to feel something about it. But you put somebody like what's his name here, that Chris guy there, that Chris Watts here, who killed his family, the kids too. I mean, talk about detaching from the moment. Jesus Christ, I can't imagine how somebody could do that and not shed a tear. I'm sure Chris Watts doesn't think there's anything mentally wrong with him, okay? But that's like asking a broken computer to find out what's wrong with itself. If it's broken, how's it ever going to know? Okay? His mind is broken. He's not going to know what's wrong with himself because he can't think right. So, whatever, people like that having that ability, it's hard to see that at first, okay? Just as I'm sure Chris Watts' wife didn't really ever think that he could do something like that. I don't blame her, okay? I mean, this guy fooled everybody. Remember, they was making videos on the internet about themselves. People watching that didn't really think that this guy could do something like that. And he seemed like such a nice guy and everything that people were crying for him because of, his wife's missing, the kids are missing. Where the hell are they? What a shock it was for people who were following this couple here and their family, to find out that this guy killed his whole family. I mean, I even to this day, it's such a dark story, from a guy, to think that money debts and all that were the reason that it pushed him over the edge, along with, having another kid. I mean, it seems like, the guy wasn't fit yet to have that responsibility to have a wife and children. He wasn't ready for that yet, And that's why I say you got to be careful about who you run into, because the person you meet is probably in a relationship where they're planning on killing somebody just so they can be with you. Jesus. It's a dangerous world. I'm not going to lie to anybody about that. It's dangerous. I can't sell it to you any other way, because it would be a lie. Not everybody's going to be honest. Not everybody's going to be genuine when you first meet them. Everybody puts on a front. Hell, even I do that when I meet somebody for the first time, because, I don't feel comfortable with them, and I don't want them to think that I'm uncomfortable around them. I just want them to, think that, I'm a nice person. So I have to kind of, build up a little bit, on the outside to make sure that I convey that, okay? Whether or not it works, I don't know. It's anyone's guess. But Some of us put on much more of an effort to do that than others. It's just, we have to be able to understand what's appropriate and what isn't. And I think in this case with this guy, he was giving off signs I don't think Andrea was ready to really see, because she liked the enjoyment of being told she's beautiful and all this stuff and getting flowers and everything. It's hard to say that that's not genuine. You know, it is. It's hard, and it's hurtful too. And nobody likes to be hurt that way. So, I guess, like what I said, you just don't allow yourself to get too awashed from the emotion of it. Try to control and give yourself pause to think about it, to reflect on it. You know, to consider. You know, just don't let the other person pull you and pull you and pull you, you know, too fast where you're not ready. And always be willing to admit when you need help, because if it's getting too much, then it's already past that point. Okay. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and I hope everyone keep their ears open to any news about COVID or whatever. It seems like the common cold is making a big comeback in our world. Everybody's getting the sniffles. They're all over the place lately, and just regular colds that you can treat with medicine, in the over the counter. Hey, you stop biting me, you know. It's just weird how, you know, we get all these vaccinations and yet we're all sick more than ever. And I think it's because we're not wearing masks anymore like we used to, that would protect us from that. Will you stop biting Jessica today? Jeez, she wants my attention. She's jealous because I'm talking on here. So anyway, just be nice to each other out there. Be smart, be safe, and you know, good karma always comes back around, and you're always happy when it does. So try to be nice, okay? I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye-bye.